You are not going to believe the absolute highway robbery this front office pulled off on day 3, securing a defensive tackle whose athletic numbers literally broke the team's internal scouting scale. But what is even crazier is the bombshell insider report revealing exactly who they desperately wanted to trade up for in the second round, completely changing how we view their entire draft strategy. We have to talk about the massive bullet the organization dodged, and why the guy they ultimately landed late might just be the biggest game changer. If you want to stay ahead of the curve on all the breaking news and deep dive roster analysis, do me a quick favor and smash that like button, share this video with a fellow fan, and hit subscribe so you never miss an update. Let us get right into the absolute madness of draft night. When NFL insider Jeremy Fowler recently dropped his annual draft intel covering all 32 teams, my jaw absolutely hit the floor when I read what our front office was secretly plotting. Did they genuinely try to make a massive, aggressive leap up the draft board? You better believe they did. Have you ever stopped to think about just how much chaotic contingency planning actually goes into a single first-round draft pick? The war room was sitting there at pick number 25, sweating bullets because they honestly believed Oregon safety Dylan Thieneman was going to be long gone. And honestly, who could blame them? Thieneman was the golden boy of the post-combine mock drafts. We saw him mocked as high as 12th overall to Dallas, and the lowest anyone realistically had him dropping was 22nd to the Chargers. Yet, the football gods smiled upon us, and he was sitting right there perfectly at 25. If Thieneman had not miraculously fallen, the team had a massive pivot plan locked and loaded. Their primary target was Tennessee cornerback Colton Hood. Hood is a flat-out dog on the gridiron, an elite press-man bully on the outside. When Jermad McCoy went down with medical concerns, Hood stepped up massively, becoming the true cornerback one for Tennessee in the absolute gauntlet of the SEC. I genuinely had him graded as one of the best man-to-man coverage corners in this class, liking him significantly more than Chris Johnson, who feels like a pure zone corner tailored for Jeff Hafley down in Miami. Fowler's report confirms the front office was fully prepared to trigger a blockbuster trade-up to secure Hood. But let us take a step back and look at the terrifying reality of what trading up into that specific spot would have actually cost this franchise. To jump from 57, the trade value charts are clear. Packaging picks 57 and 89 only gets you to about the 42nd overall pick. You are still 5 spots away from where Colton Hood went to the New York Giants at 37. To get there, you probably would have had to sacrifice picks 57 and 60, plus throw in a late-round swap. That brings us to our question of the day. Would you have honestly sacrificed our Day 2 depth and given up crucial foundational draft picks just to trade up for a cornerback like Colton Hood? Let me know exactly how you feel in the comments below because this is a massive what-if scenario that changes everything. If Ryan Poles had actually pulled the trigger on that massive trade, the domino effect would have been absolutely devastating. We would have lost a desperately needed center in Logan Jones at pick 57, and we probably would have completely missed out on dynamic playmakers like Sam Roush or Xavion Thomas. Instead, fate mercifully intervened. Dylan Thieneman fell into our laps at 25, a beautiful marriage of best player available and critical roster need. Because they practiced incredible patience, they snagged Malik Muhammad in the 4th round. Muhammad brings that exact same aggressive, press-man speed to the perimeter that Hood offers. Snagging a guy in the 4th round who had early 3rd-round tape is elite-level business. Staying put was an absolute masterstroke of roster management that saved our entire draft class. Now, there is a deeply fascinating psychological angle to this Fowler report that we absolutely cannot ignore. The fact that the front office was hyper-focused on drafting a defensive back at 25, and even had another defensive back teed up as their emergency trade-up option, screams volumes about how they fundamentally evaluated this year's crop of defensive linemen. They simply did not respect the depth or the top-tier talent of the defensive trenches in this specific draft class. Yes, Adam Hogue reported that Keldrick Falk was a guy they might have heavily considered at 25 if Thieneman was not there. But the broader picture is completely undeniable. They never seriously entertained burning premium draft capital to leapfrog teams for edge rushers like Gabe Jackas or Zion Young. They like Young, sure, but definitely not enough to mortgage the future for him. They looked at the defensive line board, shrugged, and decided the true elite strength of this class was out in the secondary. That speaks volumes about their internal scouting philosophy moving forward. But wait, because the draft intel gets even juicier when we move into the late rounds. Did the front office uncover a massive diamond in the rough on day 3? Jeremy Fowler's report suggests they absolutely did. In fact, the scouting department is reportedly over the moon, believing they secured the absolute steal of the entire draft by trading away both of their 7th-round picks to jump up into the 6th round just to draft Georgia Tech defensive tackle Jordan Van Den Berg. Let me paint a vivid picture regarding this kid's pure athleticism. Van Den Berg completely shattered the team's internal scouting scales. We are talking about a 6'3", 310-pound wrecking ball with the raw strength of an ox, throwing up 35 reps on the bench press like it was absolutely nothing. His explosive drills were entirely off the charts. If you dive into his history, you have probably seen that viral clip floating around Twitter from 6 or 7 years ago of him literally jumping straight out of a swimming pool. The man is a total freak of nature. The organization does not just view him as a standard late-round flyer. They believe he was one of the most physically gifted players in the entire class. And the tape completely backs up the testing. He was not just a workout warrior. There is serious proof of production here. He racked up 29 pressures, 11 tackles for loss, and 3 sacks last season at Georgia Tech. He was a constant, disruptive menace living in the opponent's backfield within a powerhouse conference. Yes, he is still developing and a little bit raw, but the foundational traits are terrifyingly good. Here is the most exciting part. The path to meaningful playing time is wide open for him. Let's be brutally honest about the current state of our defensive tackle room. You have an aging veteran in Grady Jarrett, and you have Jervin Dexter, who has been incredibly up and down, and might not even be on this roster next year. Beyond that, you are looking at guys like Neville Gallimore, James Lynch, and Contavious Street. We are not talking about trying to steal snaps from prime Aaron Donald here. If Jordan Van Den Berg hits the ground running in training camp, this coaching staff is going to give him every opportunity to shine. There are serious snaps to be had for a player with his elite athletic profile. Looking at this entire draft haul, from the sheer luck of Thieneman falling, to the restraint shown in not overpaying for Hood, all the way to securing a physical phenom like Van Den Berg, it is hard not to feel a massive surge of absolute hype. This front office had a distinct vision. They refused to panic, they trusted their evaluations, and they walked away with a roster that is demonstrably faster and deeper. Who is your absolute favorite draft pick of this entire class? Let me know down below, and I will see you next time.